This video is for you if you are tired of working out, of trying to get fit, and just not seeing any results. My name is Sarah Beth Martz. I'm a personal trainer working on becoming a biomechanics specialist, and I have been on a fitness journey for the last 5.5 years, building consistency in my workouts. And I lost over 70 pounds the first time that I finally found consistency with my workouts, and then 25 pounds combined over my last two postpartums, and am still on a weight loss journey, still on a strengthening journey, still wanting to get better and stronger every single day. And so today I want to walk through, I've talked in several of my other YouTube videos about how to build consistency and how to stick with something and how to find a routine that works for you. Today, I want to talk about the other side of it. What about whenever you've been working out, you've been working on a routine, and you're just not getting results? So I'm going to walk you through the process here of what the questions that I like to ask to really dig in and figure out what's going on. And so I've put together this audit for you, this self audit and tracker, so that you can really dive in and figure out what is specifically going on for you, because it could be a million different things, but just having kind of this guide to be able to check in with yourself, see where you are at, and see what could be the things that are affecting your fitness and weight loss journey. So this goes from everything super general to how can like how consistent are you, to super specific things like in your workouts, what are your feet contacts like on the floor? Okay, so we're going to dive into all of it, and you have the audit and tracker here to help keep you focused. So the link for that is in the description. You can grab your copy there. So let's dive in. So the first thing I like to ask, and the first thing you'll see in part one of this audit and tracker, is kind of just a clarity section. And these are kind of the questions that I'm going to be going through in this section. So my first question is, do you know how you specifically define results? Is it super clear for you, or do you just in general kind of feel discouraged? Because to be able to say, I'm getting results or I'm not getting results, we have to know, what am I actually shooting for? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? So this is a question just for you to ask yourself, and you can make notes about as you think on that. And then you want to actually make sure that you're clear on what it takes to get those results. So you have your picture. What does it take to get there? I see this a lot with clients that want to lose weight, especially, and have a lot of preconceived ideas of what it takes to lose weight. Because a lot of us have this idea that if we want to lose weight, we have to work out, we have to do cardio, we have to do HIIT, we have to do something to burn those calories. And I look at it from a completely different perspective. Working out is even an intense workout is such a small number of calories you're burning compared to the total big picture number of calories you're taking in a day. So for weight loss, it's really, really much more critical to look at what are we eating in a day. And your workouts can support that, but we don't want them to be a punishment for you. We don't want them to be something that you are having to work off the things that you ate. I ate dessert, so I need to punish myself. I need to work out, work off those calories. And so what actually takes to lose weight is eating healthy, eating balanced meals, eating in a way that doesn't feel like you're depriving yourself, because that's not something you're going to stick to. So just thinking about, what are my goals, and am I seriously clear on what it takes to get there? Or do I just have ideas and thoughts, and like I've heard people say this or that? Do some research, do some study for yourself, look at your specific goals, and figure out what it would take to get there. And then the next question, this is the hard one, because you have to get brutally honest with yourself about the actions you're currently taking. Do they line up with what you think you're doing? Are you clear on what you are actually doing? And do they line up with what you think is happening? Are you tracking your food and your workouts? Can you look at those to see what's going on? That would be the first step if you're not tracking anything. First step would be to track so that you know what's going on, which actually is part two here. So you can dive in and look at what are the specific things you're doing each day. And I made this super simple. It's almost all check marks so that you don't have to take a lot of time to do this. But that way you have data to look at to actually understand what's going on. It's so common for me that I will, go, why am I not seeing results? I had a really good day yesterday. And then I go back and I look at my tracker and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that snack, and I forgot about that dessert, and I forgot about that little thing here and that little thing here. And then when I look at it big picture, I'm like, that actually wasn't at all aligned with what I need to be doing to see results. And I want to be careful that I'm not doing this in a shaming way. I'm truly just checking in with myself, but I have to be honest about what I'm actually doing versus what I think that I'm doing. And then it's also important to consider what are those things that you're doing, not just occasionally, but consistently. Because whenever we're doing, when we think that we're, for example, one for me this month was getting a lot of water in, I was like, I'm doing pretty well. I'm not hitting my goal every single day, but I'm doing pretty well. I get close a lot of the time. And then I started tracking my water each day all in 1 month calendar. So it's all in one page. And I was shocked by how far away from my goal I actually hit many of the days of the month. And so it's brought a lot of awareness and it's helped me to increase those days that were so much lower. And now I much more consistently get at least closer to my goal. Water, for some reason, is a struggle for me, but it's helped me to see what am I doing consistently and what maybe did I think was consistent, but was actually more just occasional that I was getting 100 ounces or that I was getting close to that each day. And so asking yourself that question, what are you doing consistently and what are you just doing occasionally? And then if you are doing all of the right things and you're still not seeing results, then what? Because that is a very common and very valid frustration for a lot of women I know. And so after you've answered all of these questions up here, I like to start going into what's happening daily. So this is kind of more big picture, right? What's going on. Now let's dig into the tracking section. Here's what's going on every single day. And so I highly recommend taking a week to track these things so that, like we talked about up here, do I actually know what what I'm truly doing or just versus what I think that I'm doing? This is where we get to confirm that. What are you actually doing? So I highly recommend taking 7 days to track these things and figure out what's going on. And so I included kind of two different um, categories of things to track here and ended up having to go two charts because there's just a lot of them. So make sure that you are tracking all the way across day one here and day one here. So the first set of questions is about your nutrition. So this is if you're really focused on weight loss and you are just not seeing any weight loss or not seeing the weight loss you would like to see. These are the questions to be asking yourself. How much water are you drinking each day? Super, super critical for weight loss to be drinking plenty of water. How many veggies are you eating? And in what proportions? So I make it my goal to eat 50% to 75% of my plate veggies for lunch and dinner. I don't typically eat veggies at breakfast. But you can if you want to. That's amazing. So 50 to 75% of my plate being veggies for the reason that it fills me up and it helps me to feel full without feeling bloated and just kind of blah. And so I try to make veggies the majority of my plate when I can and then add in other things from there. Then I want to make sure that my carbs are really, really high in fiber and not super high in sugar. Also ask yourself, how processed are these? I don't want to say that processed food is evil and you can't lose weight for eating processed food, but it's just something to keep in mind. If you're eating a lot of carbs and a lot of them are processed, especially if they don't have a lot of fiber, they have a lot of sugar, those things can definitely hold up your weight loss. And then asking yourself, how many treats am I having each day? So when I've asked myself these questions, how many veggies are my carbs really rich in fiber? And so then I can kind of consider with the other things, maybe looking at those more as treats. So the things that are lower in fiber, those carbs that just don't have as much fiber in them, they're not as much complex carbs, um, or the foods that's not really fiber, not really veggies, not really a quality protein. Everything else we could kind of look at and maybe go, that might be a treat. And so putting that here, count up how many treats you're having each day, and it might be a very eye-opening experience for you. And then your sauces, those are things to consider as well. Sauces, dressings, creamers, all of those kinds of things. Are you using them mindfully? That's all I wanted to ask here because I'm not super huge on just measuring those out. I don't love doing that myself, but I do try to use them mindfully and like to think of them. Alana Mulstein, she's a registered dietitian and creator of 2B Mindset, which is the plan that I follow. She calls them accessories, and I love that. honestly, when I started following that plan, just calling them accessories was like a huge mindset shift that helped me kind of control how much I was eating without measuring a thing, because it's not a giant portion of the meal. I'm not balancing my I'm gonna say salad. I don't really eat salad, but balancing, my salad and like covering it with dressing and like making sure it's all coated. I'm thinking of like sauces for pasta or something, and doing those with a veggie or something instead of a pasta. I don't want to coat it, completely so that it's dripping in sauce. Think of it like an accessory. It's something that's adding taste, adding flavor. So that's what I mean by using them mindfully. Getting 7+ hours of sleep a night. This is huge, 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 huge. Sleep is just a very important part of weight loss. I've seen that over and over for myself and for my clients. So definitely something to pay attention to. And then we kind of move into more of the workout questions. And this is, again, remember that you don't, working out is not required for weight loss, but it is a question of something that can help you to feel good, something that can help your mental health, can give you kind of more clarity instead of some of the brain fog that is very common. So just asking yourself, did I get some movement in today? And I've also talked with people a lot about what counts as a workout. And to me, if you are moving your body, that's something we need to count and something we need to celebrate. So movement done. There's one simple check. Like if you moved your body, you get to decide what that means and you can check it off. It does not have to be an intense workout. And there is no minimum time requirement on any of this, you'll notice, because I am not big on, um, you know, it has to be at least this long to count, to be worth it. Like we need to get movement in and we need to celebrate that. And then we can look at the specifics of what's happening during your workout for your specific goals and the results that you want to have. But just getting movement done is something to be celebrated. So the next question that I would ask when we're looking at your workouts and looking at, are you seeing results in them? Results for working out being more along the lines of strength training, seeing strength increases, being able to lift heavier weights, being able to see maybe an increased range of motion, being able to feel more comfortable in your body throughout the day, having less pain, the mental focus, like I mentioned. So thinking through those types of results, more than weight loss, are you seeing the results that you want to see? If not, these are the questions that I would start to ask. Another thing would be endurance, being able to see, being able to stick with moves longer, be able to do more reps of a move, being able to, if you're running or walking, go for longer distances, those kinds of things. So the first question is, are you following a workout plan or are you just kind of doing random workouts? This is an important question to ask because doing random workouts, I want to be clear, is absolutely better than nothing. 100%. And so if you're still in those stages of trying to build a consistent routine, absolutely doing anything is better than nothing. 100%. But if you are frustrated with not seeing results right now, then while random moves are better than nothing, following a plan that's structured progressively is even better than random moves. So you can ask yourself, am I following a plan right now? Do I know it's something that's going to work in general, just based on science? And do I know it's something that's going to work for me? Because everybody's body is different. And so following one that's tailored to your body is the absolute best for maximizing results, especially with the most efficient use of your time and effort. So you're not wasting time on exercises that aren't going to be as good for your body. Like maybe they're not hurting you, maybe they're not going to cause you pain or anything like that, but they're not going to get you the results that you specifically want. And so that's important to consider as well. For this next section, we're looking at things like, what are you very specifically doing during that workout? So are you giving your muscles time to recover? This is important to look at from the bigger picture planning, and within the workout itself. So are you working in the same muscle group in back-to-back days? That's not really giving the muscles time to rebuild. So you want to make sure that you're giving it that break. And then during the workout too, are you following a plan that allows you to have the breaks between muscle groups? If you're working the same group back to back to back, you want to take that muscle group to failure, but then you have to give it a minute or two at least to then kind of recover to be able to go again. So just making sure you're having that recovery time. You can also look at this from the perspective of, are you giving like your body time to recover too? Are you taking rest days? Are you doing things like stretching and foam rolling and anything that you know is helpful for your body? It's so easy to know those things and not do any of them. And so think about that. Like, what are the recovery things that you're doing for your body as well? When we're talking about endurance, especially, you want to see endurance improve. You want to make sure that you're not pushing yourself too hard. That's something that's really common. And I've shared this story before, but when I first started working out, the very first workout I did, I had no barometer for like what was pushing myself at a good level. I just thought, and honestly, I just thought working out was supposed to suck. And so when it sucked, like there was no surprise there. And so I just kept pushing myself and it just kept sucking. By the time that I was done, I literally laid on the floor for like 30 minutes to recover. Like I felt like if I got up, I was going to throw up. And it took me like an hour to get ready for work that day because I just was like, nope, I'm going to have to stop. I'm going to throw up. Like I had pushed myself so hard. And that's like, for one thing, that's not something that I'm going to stick with. And I didn't. I didn't stick with that workout. So it's not something I'm going to stick with, but it's also not going to get me results. I'm pushing my body too hard that it's going to it's like it almost shuts down. It's like, nope, this is too much. I just need to like go into protection mode. And so I don't get results from that. And I've seen that whenever I took up running too. I trained for like 9 months to get ready for a half marathon. And I barely improved my pace over the course of 9 months because I just really, really struggled in my easy runs and my longer endurance runs to keep my heart rate down, to not push myself too hard. I was freaking out about my pace and how slow I was. And so I just kept pushing myself too hard, even though I knew I needed to pull back. So it can be really difficult to do. But just kind of checking in with yourself. Are you pushing yourself too hard? And I put this because I think it's a pretty simple test to do. Are you still able to talk during your workout? But this is part of a more general question of, are you pushing yourself too hard? And just kind of being aware of that. Um, that extends um, into muscle strength training as well, not just cardio endurance. Um, and making sure that you're lifting weights that are appropriate. But those, I have specific questions for those as well. But I just want you to think about that big picture. Are you pushing too hard, both from an endurance standpoint, from a cardiovascular standpoint, and also from a weightlifting standpoint? But we'll get into what that means. Do you have any pain when you work out? If you have pain, obviously, yes, a workout should be challenging. If you have pain during any lifts, that is that is not what we're going for. Okay, so if you have pain, please stop doing that move and consult with your doctor, with a personal trainer, with a physical therapist, with somebody, and make sure that you are doing the move properly and that it is an okay move for your body. We are not going for pain, in our workouts. So that's just a question to check in with yourself. No pain during your workout means we are doing great. If you have pain, that is absolutely something that can keep you from getting results. It can indicate that you are not working out with proper form. So maybe you're not working out the proper muscle group. It can indicate that there's something going on in your body that needs to be addressed. And if you are working out through pain, very likely what is happening is your body is finding a different movement pattern in order to compensate. It's trying to move in a slightly different way to make it easier, or just to make that movement possible. And in doing that, you are going to be working out different muscles than what you're intending. You might be setting yourself up for more pain, or pain in a different area later on, and it's going to limit the range of motion that you're going to have. There are just a ton of consequences that come along with that. So please make sure that you are not in pain when you're working out. Then you want to make sure that you are working out with good form. And I kind of divided this into a few different things. I'm going to give you a few different questions I want you to think about. But we want to make sure that when you're working out, you are doing the moves exactly as they are designed, and that you are working through a range of motion that is good for your body. And so, one of the things that I do, or I'm learning to do as I'm working on this biomechanics certification with my clients one-on-one, is we assess, what are your movement limitations? Like, how far are you able to, when we're laying on your back, lift your leg up? How much range of motion do you have there? How much range of motion do you have in your arms to rotate them internally, externally, to raise them over your head, to flexion, to go out to the side. Like, how much range of motion do you have in these different directions? And are you moving through those range of motions, or are you compensating usually by using parts of our spine? So we'll rotate through our spine to help us. We will extend our back or flex our spine to help us move in a certain way. Sometimes we might collapse the foot. So you want to make sure that you're moving through the individual joints that are intended and not completely turning or orienting your entire pelvis, moving into your lower back or even your upper back, or moving through your feet, just kind of collapsing them in. So these are things that we want to think about, and it might mean that you need to majorly lessen your range of motion. It might mean you need to address some of those areas that you don't have range of motion in to be able to work out in a way that's actually conducive to your body. But the first thing that I want you to think about is just, am I going too far? Like, range of motion wise, am I reaching too far? Am I coming back too far? You know, in whatever type of move that you're doing, am I squatting too far? More than I can control, more than I can keep my back in a straight stack, more than I can maintain for the full set of reps. So those are all things I want you to think about. So we have your back remaining stable. So that means you're not arching it, you're not flexing it, and you're not rotating it beyond what is required in the move. So we don't want to be kind of twisting in your lower back, or you know, sliding one hip slightly further back than the other when you go into a squat, for example. We want to be keeping everything kind of stacked and in a line. So that's also part of what good form looks like. Is everything in alignment? Are you doing the move exactly as it was designed? Do you know how the move was designed? Make sure that you are looking into that, and that you know where you should be stopping for your range of motion. So make sure that you're not going too far. You also want to make sure that your weights feel challenging but aren't too heavy. If you're lifting too heavy, then very likely you're going to be compensating somewhere else in your body, and that can cause issues. That can also keep you from getting the results that you're looking for. But by the same token, if you're not lifting heavy enough, if you're not feeling challenged within your range of motion that I talked about, then you're also not going to see results because your muscles aren't being pushed to the point of failure. So that's really important as well, that you're not lifting too heavy so that you're able to maintain control, able to maintain that range of motion, working within your genuine range of motion without compensating anywhere, but that you're also lifting enough to get your muscles to that point of failure to continue to build them. The next question I would ask is, are you breathing well during these movements? Are you getting nice, full, deep breaths that have 360-degree expansion? So when you breathe, your ribs should go out in really all directions. You want to get 360 degrees. It's very common that we end up doing shallow breathing where we're not getting deep inhales and exhales. And a lot of us end up using our neck to breathe, where you can like see your neck flexing as you're breathing. We really want to use our lungs and our diaphragm to make sure we're getting those nice deep inhales and exhales, and that we are breathing in through our nose, not through our mouth, for those exercises. That we're also breathing during appropriate parts of the exercise, depending on your goal. For most people, that means exhaling on the hard part when the muscles are contracting. So when you go into a squat, exhaling on the part where you're pushing back up. There are exceptions to that for really heavy lifting, or for postpartum women with pelvic floor issues, with diastasis issues, those kinds of things. But as a general rule of thumb, exhaling through the hard part is what we want to be looking for. So do you have those good breathing patterns? Are you getting deep breathing? Are you doing 360 breathing? Are you making sure you're breathing with your lungs, and that it's really getting down into that 360-degree expansion, and that you are exhaling during the hard parts? And then the last question here is, are you able to sense your feet on the ground? And we look at the 3 points of contact, kind of this tripod on your foot, the part underneath your big toe, the ball of your heel underneath your big toe, the ball of your heel underneath your pinky, and the heel of your foot. So those are kind of the 3 points of contact. Can you fully sense those? Can you, are you aware of them? Can you kind of push down into those during the movements? Or do you find at any point that your feet kind of collapse one direction or the other during a move? So pay attention to that and make sure that you're able to really sense those feet on the ground. Okay, so that's your daily tracking. Part 3 is the end of week reflection. So you're going to go back, and this is really basically just looking at that data and trying to interpret it. Did I consistently drink enough water? Did I include enough veggies in most of my meals? This is not about being perfect, but just about noticing that consistently, what's happening consistently. Were my carbs mostly high fiber? Was my sugar, snack, treat intake consistent with my goals? Did I get enough sleep? Did I follow a structured workout plan? All of those things we already talked about, just looking at those trends. And then in part 4, this is just the summary. So this is where you get to go in and you get to go, okay, I have my data, I've interpreted it. What does it mean for me? What is holding me back? What is my focus for next week? These are the most critical questions here, because this is where change is going to happen. It's really easy for us to go to track those things and just check them all off and go, okay, that's what happened. And not, first off, only look at it on a day-to-day basis and not look at it for the week as a whole. Answering these questions for the week as a whole is absolutely, absolutely critical. But these are the questions that are going to actually change things for you going forward. And so this is not just I'm not getting results self-audit and tracker. This is a get results self-audit and tracker. We want to actually do something with this information so that you can move forward and see a change going forward. That is my biggest goal for you. That is why I created this for you, because I want you to actually get results with it. So these are the questions to ask yourself. What 1 to 2 things made the biggest difference this week? What 1 to 2 things held me back? What is my focus for next week? And then if there's anything else that you can think of that you want to take note of. But to me, the most important questions are like, what held me back and what's my focus next week? Again, remember, this is not, there's no shaming as part of this process. This is just about awareness and figuring out what's actually going on so that you can do things differently going forward. So you can find the link to get this self-audit and tracker sent to you in the description of this video. And I hope it's helpful for you. Let me know any questions that you have. I know this was a lot. If there's anything I said you were like, I have no idea what you're talking about, let me know, drop a comment, and I'd be happy to address that either with a comment or another video or whatever would be most helpful for you. And then go head over to Instagram at Tired Mama Training, and we can connect more there as well. I would love to see you there. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.